This episode is sponsored by State Farm. Choices are great. Like with your podcasts, you get to choose what you want to listen to. And State Farm believes insurance should work the same way. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you get the coverage you want at an affordable price and a policy that helps cover what you value most. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com today to create your State Farm Personal Price Plan. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Scott for Scots here. Do you hear that? Bring the mic in close. That's not how the grass should sound. There's weeds everywhere in this lawn. It's time to take action with Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action. It gets 3 jobs done at once. Kills weeds, prevents crabgrass, and feeds your lawn so it keeps growing strong. Ah, much better.
Get a bag of Scott's Triple Action today. It's guaranteed, or your money back.
Feed your lawn. Feed it.
The Purple Mafia, with your host, Paladino Joey.
Well, we'll see. The doctors would disagree, but what do they know?
So let's just say that you'll pay me because it's in your interest to pay me.
Is it worth it? I mean, you've won. You want to wipe everybody out?
I don't feel I have to wipe everybody out, Tom. Just my enemy. That's all. My father taught me many things. He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
These are wonderful things that we've achieved, and there's no limit to where we can go from here.
Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. Today is Monday, February the 7th, 2011, or 2011, whatever you want to call it. This is episode number 85 of the aforementioned Purple Mafia. Thank you very much for joining once again. We appreciate each and every one of you for downloading and listening to this show, which is available on thesportstuff.com and on iTunes. I am your host, Joey Awajan, or Paladino Joey, as Dylan Richardson so kind to introduce me at the introduction of this show. Well, of course, we are going to review the Super Bowl number 45, and we have a little bit of Viking news to get to. Not really so much. In fact, it's just, it's the kind of stuff you don't really want to hear about, is it? No, because what kind of Viking news would there be when the Green Bay Packers are world champions? What kind of Viking news would it be? Well, it'd be bad, right? Yeah, it's bad. Everson Griffin. We're going to get to what happened with him. Oh, freaking goody. Accused of assaulting officer, all that good stuff. Yeah, we're going to talk about some of that. It took place, early last week. Oh, goody. Just very exciting stuff. We're going to get to that. And, of course, the Super Bowl. We're going to, first and foremost, though, get to your Facebook comments. Got into a little conversation with Janine here tonight. Janine Dietz, we'll say. Actually, on my Facebook page. We're going to also get to the Purple Mafia Facebook page. We'll get to that first. Facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Thank you always for joining that page. I encourage those of you out there that are listening, please join that page. It only helps the show. That would be great indeed. Again, no call-ins for Purple Mafia. Once again, episode number 85 is mentioned. No call-ins. The number is 209-736-7877. 209-736-7877. It is a voicemail. Do treat it as such. We would like you to please call in and mention you're calling in for Purple Mafia and then do your comment, shout out, whatever. But, I miss you guys out there. I miss you. Where are you? Where'd you go? Come on now. Come back. I know the Vikings had a really bad season. I know the Green Bay Packers won their 4th Super Bowl yesterday.
Oh, for the love of God.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers won their 4th Super Bowl yesterday.
This is beyond belief!
It's just, I can't believe it. We're happy for them. And in a sad, subtle way, I was rooting for them because I'm so sick and tired of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't like them. I don't like Ben Roethlisberger. I like Richard Mendenhall, and I'm sure the Packers do too, because if he didn't fumble that football, who knows? The Steelers may have gone on to win the game yesterday. Turnovers again. Another haunting memory of that bleeping game late last January against those bleeping Saints. Turnovers. What do you say? Turnovers. So I'm already kind of talking about the Super Bowl. Sorry about that. Facebook group. Get to the Facebook group, Joey. Get to the Facebook group, Joey. It might help, right? So, again, as mentioned, facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Not too complicated. A lot of the usual posters, and I appreciate you guys very much. Tony L. Coleman said, anybody but Green Bay. This was late last night after, of course, the Packers won. It's like, anyone but them. Oh. And, no, that was actually before the Super Bowl, I believe. Yes, it was. And, of course, the Packers won. Brent Jacobson makes a interesting comment here. It'd be fun if he actually called it in, but because, you know Brent Jacobson with his anecdotes, they're very cool. Kind of like his picture on Facebook right now. It's the shape of the state of Minnesota with the Minnesota Wild logo kind of in it. It's kind of cool looking. But anyway, his question is, what's the difference between a female Packer fan and a bullhead? One is smelly and has whiskers. The other is a fish.
Oh my God!
Ouch. Yeah, that's interesting. We love it very much. Appreciate that there, Brent Jacobson. Thank you again for that. Intriguing. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I mean, you're going to get some needling back and forth between Packer fans and Viking fans. Unfortunately, the Packers are ahead 4-0 in that category, and it really sucks, folks. It's now 4-0. The Packers now have as many victories as the Vikings have losses in the Super Bowl, and they've been to 5 of them. We've been to 4. They're 4-1. We are 0-4. Great, just great. Dan Taylor summing it all up right here, a god-awful end to a god-awful season. At least we can look forward to a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers as Vikes quarterback in 2012. Beautiful. Good thoughts there by Dan Taylor. And you know what? I don't blame him for that type of statement. I can't really blame him for that. That just seems to be how things operate here in Minnesota. You know, we get Randall Cunningham when he was older. Yeah, he had one really good year, and he stunk the next year. We had Warren Moon in 2004. 94. Warren Moon in 94. He was actually, that was arguably his worst year as the Vikings quarterback, but it was the best team at the time. The Vikings kind of slowly went into some type of identity change. They went from a really good defensive team with a good offense into a team that was all offense and no defense, thanks to Dennis Green's horrible drafting and his one-track mind. Yeah, that was great. As we went into 95 and 96. But Warren Moon never really a champion, never won a playoff game in his life. So I would see him as a championship quarterback at age 38. Again, beyond me, and I wish I knew better back then, but I didn't. I was still a very budding new Viking fan back then. Boy, this is going to be my 20th season watching the Vikings in 2011. Whew, that's pretty crazy. Very Favre-like in years there. Dan Duro says this year has started off terrible, of course, because of what happened last night. Tony Coleman, Twineball says, hey, or ha-ha, Dan T. That's exactly what I said to my buddy tonight. I was bumming on Aaron Rodgers, but then I turned to my wife and said, we'll like him in a few years, though, when he's a Viking. Well, I hope so. I hope it's not too many years. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was probably a one-time phenom, guys, and I'm sure you guys all know that. You're just having fun. Tony, again, as if the Viking season wasn't bad enough with all that happened. Childress fired. Harvin's migraines, but Harvin did have a good year, and I'm going to be talking about him in the next episode. He's going to get one of those 3 awards, we'll just say. Okay, I shouldn't have said that. Randy Moss debacle, Favre drama, stadium collapse. Now the topper. The Packers win the Super Bowl. Well, at least Super Bowl has nowhere to go but up next season. You know, I can't disagree with that. You telling me the Vikings are going to win 6 games next year?
No.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a higher total than 6 into the next season. I mean, you got to be kidding me. If somebody tells me the Vikings are going to win 6 games next year, I'm going to just throw up. I'm going to vomit. I'm going to just want to move to Wisconsin. No, I won't go that far. But, yeah, maybe. No, I won't. Brent Jacobson, final statement here on the Facebook page for this show. He says, this sentiment might be slightly painful, and this is a very good thing that he says, by the way, but slightly painful. But if we want to be where the Packers are today, we should follow their lead and build from the trenches out. Start with solidifying our O and D lines, then add pieces that will complement as we build it. And treat the draft picks like gold. Personally, at 12, I would take an offensive or defensive lineman, trade Berrien, add picks, and stockpile young players like Green Bay did. And that is a sincere clap. Brent, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And that's not because I'm sitting up here and being Mr. Nice, Mr. Minnesota Purple Mafia Nice, which some people may quietly think of me. That's not who I am. No, I disagree with people at times. Of course I do. Hope I didn't alienate some people with the whole Joe Webb thing, because I'm not as high on Joe Webb as a lot of you guys are. I'm just not. I like him as a player. I think he's a great athlete. Do I think he's a future quarterback in this league? Maybe. I said maybe. I didn't say no. I said maybe. Okay? So we'll leave it at that. But no, speaking of future quarterbacks, what do you think the Vikings need in Aaron Rodgers? The Vikings need in Aaron Rodgers. They need to get lucky. The Vikings need to get lucky. And we're going to, of course, get into that in the next episode, 86, which will be called, I'm already telling you what the title of that episode will be, State of the Vikings Address 2011. Plain and simple, because I do it every year. We put a bow on the Vikings season for 2010, hand out the awards for the most valuable player, the most improved, and the biggest disappointment. I do that for all three of my shows for every season. I put a bow on, State of the Vikings Address, State of the Wild, State of the Timberwolves, whatever. You get the idea. But no, this is kind of like a State of the Vikings type of post here. Very, very cool, actually. I like it a lot. Sorry about that noise there. Very cool stuff there by Brent Jacobson. I mean, how do you win a championship? In the trenches. Or how do you win in general? In the trenches. Berrien has brought the Vikings a whole lot of nothing other than a couple of good games against the New Orleans Saints. He had a good game against the Saints in 2008. He had a good game against the Saints in 2009. Other than that, I'm still waiting for really anything out of the guy other than drop passes, blown routes, and God knows what else. I just, and a lot of money going into a black hole. I mean, Bernard Black Hole Berrien or Bernard Stonefingers Berrien, both of those nicknames fit him very well because he can't catch and he's a black hole. The money's gone, and thanks a lot for that, Bernard. We appreciate it. Go back to the Bears. Yeah, that's about it. And then he'd probably too good again when he went there. Adding draft picks, this team needs picks like they need to breathe. Don't trade picks. Just don't trade picks unless you're getting like a quarterback that's 30. That's 30, not 40 this time. But no, they need an Aaron Rodgers. Plain and simple, they need an Aaron Rodgers, and of course the O and D lines are huge. The defensive line, actually the depth is fantastic. You got Fred Evans and of course my guy, LaTroy Guion, who will probably start next year in place of Patrick Williams, he's all but completely done now. I got to think he is done. The quarterback and the two lines, absolutely. Offensive line, though. Now, you always want to talk about the best player available in the draft, and yes, that's absolutely true. If there's an offensive lineman that is worthy of a pick at number 12, the guy who isn't necessarily projected to be like the 45th pick, you don't just take it for need at 12. If the guy is projected to be the 45th pick or something, like the best O-lineman available is that low. But if there's a guy that warrants the 12th overall pick, you might have to disappoint some fans and take an O-lineman. You just might. Okay, again, getting ahead of myself into episode 86 there. But a great, great post by Brent Jacobson. I just, hey, you got to lower your pride and learn from your opponents, learn from your rivals how they did it. Because what do the Packers have that we don't? Rings. What do we want? Rings. We want rings in this town, man. I want rings so bad. And that'll segue perfectly into my little conversation with Janine Dietz. I hope I'm saying her name correctly again. Holy cow. Lots of talking. I'm going to kind of go back and forth. Yeah, I started off with a statement saying after what I saw in last night's Super Bowl, I want one even more, and that's saying a lot. I want it so bad, folks. And I do. I can't even express it here on Purple Mafia and do it justice. No, I want a Super Bowl so bad, folks, especially after last night. Janine says, the question to ask yourself is, what would the outcome have been if the Steelers had not turned the ball over 3 times, resulting in 21 points for the Packers? The Packers only scored 10 points, not counting the turnovers. Turnovers are where the Packers won. My comment basically is, well, that's exactly what happened to the Vikings in 2009, so it's even more haunting. And yes, it makes me even hungrier to win a championship, because when you're there and you know you probably should have won the game, then, it's like you want it even more. You were there. You had it. Just win it, please. Janine's response to that says, yes, it does. How it sucks. I said, and to make matters worse, now Green Bay will rub salt in our wounds for the next year. I just hope the Super Bowl curse holds up and they get their asses handed to them next year. Yeah, I mean, there haven't been really any repeats, have there? Not since the Denver Broncos in 97, 98. There haven't been any repeats. Or, excuse me, New England Patriots did repeat. Wrong again, Joey. 03 and 04. And that was a great football team. But since then, we haven't seen anything close to it. The Steelers were not very good in 06. The Colts were not as good in 07. The Patriots were certainly not as good as... certainly not as good in 08 as they were in 07. The Patriots or the Giants. Actually, the Giants had a better record, but they stunk in the playoffs. So they blew it. They lost right off the bat in the playoffs. The Steelers were not as good in 09 as they were in 08 after they won their championship. And, of course, the Saints, not as good this year as they were the previous year. Still had the talent, but they didn't win. They lost in the first round. So that's how it goes. Hopefully the Packers do get beat in the first round by the Vikings. That'd be nice. Though I wouldn't mind seeing the ultimate, as I mentioned on here, the ultimate. Beat the Packers in the ultimate stage that's available, like what the Bears and Packers had. They got to finally put their rivalry in the biggest stage possible, the NFC title game. That'd be pretty cool, and beat the Packers in that would be pretty fun. Though losing a game like that would be the biggest. That's where you go to risk. If you lose, oh boy, you don't get that one back, folks. You don't get it back. You don't. And unfortunately, I'm also afraid that the Packers, ladies and gentlemen, which I mentioned on here before Janine responds, that the Packers just might be the next multi-championship team here. Yeah, they might be. The Patriots, who then passed it on to the Steelers, who I think last night may have passed it on to the Packers, unfortunately. Could have been a changing of the guard. I mean, the ultimate way to make a changing of the guard is to beat the actual dynasty in the biggest stage possible, and the Packers did it. So, scary. Interesting thoughts here by Janine again. Says she certainly hopes I'm wrong about the Packers being possibly that next multi-Super Bowl team. She says, but they are one cocky team. Heard on the news tonight that the team was fitted for the Super Bowl rings before the game was even played. That's kind of funny. And I also noticed, as we're slowly going to segue into the Super Bowl itself here pretty soon, before we go to, we'll go to break first though. But the Packers absolutely looked like they had it in the bag. Mentally, they had this thought that we got this thing in the bag, we got it. And the Vikings kind of had that attitude going into the Saints game last year, and the Vikings were the better team, but they turned the ball over 6 times. The difference here, the Packers took that confidence and won. The Vikings took the confidence, got punched in the mouth a little bit, and did not win, even though they clearly they outplayed the Packers outside of the freaking turnovers. Outside of the turnovers, the Vikings did outplay the Packers, the Saints, last year. So it's one of those things. The Steelers statistically outplayed the Packers, yes, but they turned the ball over because they had that strong, deadly second half. It looked like the Steelers actually were going to win the Super Bowl until Mendenhall fumbled the ball. Good times there, yeah. In fact, I'm almost doing the review now in a way. It's crazy. It just never ends. We'll just finish up with what Janine had to say. Lots of stuff here still. She likes to write, but I like what she writes. It's strong stuff. It's good stuff. She says, agreed. That would be the ultimate accomplishment, of course, beating the Packers in the NFC Championship game. I can't help but wonder how much time will pass for that to come to fruition. Vikings have got a long uphill battle to get there. Lots of coaching changes made to start the transformation. And now issues with a possible, that's right. That's the crappy thing that I always tend to forget. Yeah. Because I haven't been talking about it much here on this show. I'm just assuming that we're just going to play football. Yeah, possible lockout and the draft. We need a reliable quarterback desperately, but our O-line, D-line, and special teams really suck this year. Yeah, the D-line was disappointing, no doubt about it. It was. the depth is there, but the the result wasn't. No, it really wasn't. So again, that comes back to Brent Jacobson. Strong statement as well. Very, very good. Janine's final statement for now is Chile really get a number on the emotional stability and self-doubt of this team. That's going to be quite a hurdle to get over, but Frazier is the guy who can get it done. And the team appears to respect him as a player and a coach. Chile knew football but had no player experience and was emotionally distanced from the players, and they sensed it. Well, the part that I most agree with, yes, he was emotionally distanced from the players, and they sensed it. He knew football? Yeah, he knew football. The whole thing about experience from a player, that's not always fair, though. I mean, Bill Belichick didn't play. Bill Walsh didn't play. Mike Tomlin didn't play. That guy's a great coach, the Steelers coach. Mike McCarthy didn't play. He's, I mean, you can't necessarily say, that. I mean, I'm sure you expected that comeback from me, so I won't bore you. I won't bore Janine or anybody else to death with going off and on about that. But it's just saying, sometimes player coaches aren't always like a guarantee to do anything. Though, yeah, it's nice that there's respect, but you gotta have results too. Respect and results. You gotta have R&R. Not just rest and relaxation. Respect and results. There you go. There's the new R&R for the Purple Mafia show. Hey, that was kind of cool. But no, Frazier. Yeah. The guy does ooze positivity, and this team needs positivity oozed in them. They need that positive energy oozed in them. They need that positivity to reflect on the play of the team, reflect on the attitude of the team, the whole aura surrounding the team, the organization. I like to talk like that. It sounded Canadian. But that's what it's about right there. That's a start, because Childress did not do that. Childress did the exact opposite. In fact, it seemed like 75 to 90% of the team hated the guy, or at least strongly disliked, so he can be a little bit nicer about it. Nice guys. But, yeah, I'm rambling a little bit much here, but then again, that's what you guys listening to the show for. You listen to hear my opinions, I hope. Okay, final story before we go to break. Final story before we take a break. Vikings defensive end Griffin, Everson Griffin, who potentially could replace Ray Edwards for if and when he leaves via free agency, which is expected. Yeah, he was accused of assaulting an officer.
Oh, come on, man.
Thank you, Everson. I mean, way to handle yourself when it's time to become a professional. Maybe even be a factor on this team that could really use you badly. There's a reason he went from a first-round pick to a fourth-round pick in the projections, is because it just, attitude issues. And this totally sucks. You got to hope and pray that this can kind of sort of blow over, and he'll be back on the team, and he'll actually be productive in this league, but I have no idea what's going to happen. You got to love to hear this, though, that police officers used a stun gun to subdue the 6'3", 275 Griffin during a struggle after he tried to flee. Great, But no, overall, he was accused of assaulting a police officer and faced NFL investigation last Tuesday after he was arrested during a traffic stop in South Los Angeles. I'm guessing South Central LA. No, with the way they probably just didn't want to put South Central. That's not that's not the best part of that city. But who knows? Then again, who knows? He probably wasn't there. Who knows? Whatever. Just leave that alone. Yeah, he was in jail for about 9.5 hours. He was released on a $50,000 bail. Just good stuff. Just going to get to this. We are aware of yesterday's alleged incident. That was, of course, Mondays, involving Everson Griffin. Spokesman Jeff Anderson said, at the time, the team is gathering all the facts and will withhold any further comment. So that's about all you're going to get. That was the Vikings spokesman right there, Jeff Anderson. The overall frustration here is a guy who could potentially fill in for Ray Edwards, maybe be first-round pick talent, getting in trouble here, and that's too bad. It's quite a shame. A lot of people think this could be the end of him with the Vikings. I don't know. If it's me, I can't make decisions for the team. I can't sit here and judge anything that I really not involved in overall. Though at the same time, the frustration level is there. I mean, I can't judge anybody for saying if they want to keep him on the team or get them the hell out of here. It's more or less, man, oh man, it's one of those things, grow up a little bit, and that's about it. I mean, who in the Sam Hill assaults a police officer or attempts to assault a police officer? Really? A police officer? A police officer! I mean, this isn't some random bum on the street with a gun saying, hey, give me all your money. This is a cop. You don't, that's just common sense. You're going to get in major trouble for even considering assaulting a police officer. That's just common sense. And unfortunately, Everson Griffin, according to the storyline, does not have any. All right, there. That's where I'm going to leave that. Other than that, we wish him the best and hope that this thing can be resolved and and that he has a good NFL career with the Vikings. We'll see. Maybe he'll grow up from this. I don't know. But that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign, even considering assaulting a police officer. That is just...
Man, this doesn't make any sense.
It's just one of those things. It doesn't make any sense. No. So with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk a bit about the Super Bowl. And we are back here on Purple Mafia, episode number 85, which is, again, a reminder for iPod users. Microsoft's doing as well, and along with other MP3 players. Thank you always for downloading and listening to the show, as always, which is available on thesportstuff.com and on iTunes. Well, the Super Bowl number 45, February the 6th, the Green Bay Packers won their fourth Super Bowl, defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers 31-25 in a very good game. Yeah, a very good game. But it looked like the Packers had this thing for quite a while. In fact, the first half very much looked like the Packers had this thing in the bag. It really did. Oh, yes, it did. Though, unfortunately, the first quarter, the first 10 minutes of it, tedious, boring football, nervous players, Aaron Rodgers not completing passes at the rate you'd expect him to. And his end stat line, fantastic, phenomenal, and deserving of the Most Valuable Player award. But both quarterbacks threw the ball too much in this game. I mean, you'd expect a little more running game, especially from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Major disappointment for the Pittsburgh Steelers to not run the ball more. Yeah, Rashard Mendenhall did fumble late in the fourth quarter, which was absolutely killed the Steelers in the long run. Or early in the fourth quarter. That's when it really happened, yeah. Which led to a score for the Packers later, but we'll get to that when it matters. Neither team ran the ball particularly well in this game, or particularly often enough. Rashard Mendenhall should have gotten the ball more, plain and simple. Ben Roethlisberger, always quick on his feet, did gain some first downs, as expected. But Ben Roethlisberger, certainly not as clutch as I thought he was going to be. Aaron Rodgers, the completion percentage, really not that bad, because mostly later as the game progressed, the guy was completing his passes, and some of it was drop passes. Oh, there were some drop passes in this game. Jordy, as in Jordy LaForge, Jordy Nelson, not even spelled the same as Jordy LaForge from Star Trek The Next Generation, but Jordy Nelson dropped about 17,000 passes, though he caught 9. 9 passes, 140 yards, and a touchdown late in the game. That ended up being the clincher. And yes, it was. It was a biggie. Excuse me, that one was to Greg Jennings, but we'll just forgive me for that, I guess. We'll try to. That one was to Greg Jennings. Yeah, there was a lot of touchdown passes thrown by Aaron Rodgers. Oh, man. The Jordy Nelson one was the first one. That's kind of funny. Packers did get a scoring drive finally going about midway through the first quarter. Ended it with about 4 minutes left to go. A very solid drive by the Packers and an indicator of how this game was headed. that the Packers were the better team here. The Steelers just not getting anything going. The Packers then, on the ensuing play, Nick Collins intercepts Ben Roethlisberger for a pick six, and the Pittsburgh Steelers clearly in trouble at this point. There was turnover number one, and it cost the Steelers 6 points, technically 7 after the, the extra point. 14-0 Green Bay before even the start of the second quarter. And you could just feel it with the Pittsburgh Steelers that they're like, oh boy, we weren't expecting this. This is ridiculous. What the hell? We're the Steelers. We're the Steelers. We're going to win our 7th Super Bowl. Heck, our quarterback wears number 7 for that reason, right? We're going to win the 7th Super Bowl. Okay, I know it's not why he wears number 7, but he was going to be 7 for 7. Number 7 wins number 7. But no, that just was not the case. The Steelers pretty much sleepwalking out there through the entire first quarter. Absolutely no factor whatsoever. And unfortunately, they couldn't run the ball very much when you're down by 2 scores. The Steelers then finally get a scoring drive, which winds up with Sean Sissom, who's been on about 99 teams. Remember Sean Sissom, folks? Dallas Cowboys missed a field goal indoors against the Vikings about 35 yards indoors. Yeah, Sean Sissom. Yeah, the same Sean Sissom that was on the Washington Redskins this year in Leslie Frazier's first victory. Yeah, that guy. Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl, Sean Sissom. Go figure, but he made it 33 yards out. The Steelers finally draw a teeny bit of blood. And then what happens? Yeah, the Packers get it done again down the stretch. 21-3 on a nice pass to Greg Jennings. It's like, everybody and their grandmother at this point knew the Packers were going to probably win the Super Bowl at this point because the Steelers had shown no reason for anybody to believe that they were going to come back and win this game, that they had any guts right now to come back and win this game, that they had the intestinal fortitude to get this thing done. But then the Steelers do finally show something because they had to score at this point. The Steelers don't have the touchdown drive in the final 2 minutes in that second half. This game probably would have been a blowout, but they'd set the tone for the second half because the Steelers went to work in the second half. They finally looked like a team that knew what they're doing a teeny bit. I mean, the strangest part, and a lot of hosts across the league, or the NFL world will say, the country, that would be nice too, are saying, the Pittsburgh Steelers were the experienced, including myself in episode number 84, by the way. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the experienced team. They're very clutch. They're going to come out. The Packers will be nervous. The Steelers will take advantage of it and will win the game. Instead, it was the exact opposite. The Packers were the brash team that played as if they were experienced, even though they're not. They're not experienced in the Super Bowl, including Donald Driver is not inexperienced in the Super Bowl, even though he's a lot older. And by the way, I'll get to something really quick about the Packers again, with experience and lack thereof, and players not being healthy. But the Steelers look like the nervous team, the team that looked a little bit shell-shocked. They looked really shell-shocked until that drive late in the second quarter that ended up being finishing the half Green Bay to 20-10, and again 21-10, excuse me. Everybody again can see the Packers winning the Super Bowl without the Steelers going nuts and taking it and just literally taking it away from the Packers. But the Packers secondary depleted badly with injuries. Unfortunately, during this game, Woodson out with a shoulder injury, and then of course Donald Driver out as well during the game. Yeah, you had to feel for this guy, regardless of how you feel about the Packers. He's kind of been their Chris Carter. He's number 80. He's Mr. Veteran receiver who's been there. He's the all-time leading receiver for the Packers. He's been a great receiver for a long time. May have an outside shot of getting to the Hall of Fame someday, maybe, but I don't know. It's up to you what you think about that. Might need a little more numbers for that, but he has been a very big-time receiver for the Green Bay Packers for many years, including the Brett Favre era, quite a bit of it, pretty much since about 2000. Donald Driver's been there getting it done with the Packers. And that's a guy I feel good for on this day for the Green Bay Packers. The rest of them, whatever. They're arch rivals, and especially Aaron Rodgers is an arch rival. But, hey, I feel good for Donald Driver in that situation. How can you not? How can you not, indeed? The Pittsburgh Steelers, though, did come back in that second half. They looked like a team that was rejuvenated. They believed in themselves, and they were going to take this thing away from the Packers. But it just wasn't enough, folks. It just wasn't enough. After Rashard Mendenhall was able to deliver a touchdown for the Steelers, the Packers then returned early in the fourth quarter on a very strong scoring drive. A very strong scoring drive. This, of course, after a very painful turnover. A very, very painful turnover. In fact, both of these touchdown passes to Greg Jennings were after turnovers. One of them, an interception from Ben Roethlisberger. That was, of course, late in the first half. That was crucial. That was just brutal. But here was the big one. This was the biggest of them all. Looked like the Steelers were going to get things going here. They're going to score a touchdown, make this thing 24-28, maybe ultimately 25-28, which they eventually did. Eventually, yeah, they did it on the next drive. But Rashard Mendenhall fumbles the ball away, and the Packers basically scored within, about 40 seconds. I mean, it was just boom, boom, boom. I mean, it was 3 pass completions for Aaron Rodgers, ultimately hitting Greg Jennings in the corner, the back corner, on a perfect pass and catch to Greg Jennings. That ultimately the scoring play that finished this off the Steelers in the end. It really did. That was the game-winning play. I mean, everybody and their mother knew once Rashard Mendenhall fumbled that ball that the mentality of the Steelers, the momentum of the Steelers was over. You could see it in the Packers' faces that they knew in their hearts and souls that they won this thing. And when Greg Jennings brought that thing in, it was like another team, another 10-6 team is going to win the Super Bowl. The Giants did it, and now the Packers have done it. And the frickin' 12-4 Vikings last year, who probably could have easily been 14-2, that's getting to the 2009 Vikings, could have been 14-2. I mean, they were talented enough for that kind of record. But 12-4, a very strong 12-4, couldn't even make it to the Super Bowl. And this 10-6 Packer team is going to win it, and you just knew it at this point. You knew it. You just knew it, despite the fact the Steelers still had a very strong chance to win this thing. And yes, they did. A very powerful drive by Ben Roethlisberger. A very nice first down eclipsed by Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, this guy can run. He's big, but boy, is he mobile. He just gets around people. The last second, you think you got him, but this guy, you never bring him down. Breaks loose for first downs down the stretch. A perfect pass to Mike Wallace. Finally, somewhat of a deep play rather than a Brad Childress type offense where it's like three yards and that's it type of passing in the Steelers offense. A very nice pass to Mike Wallace. Perfect again, as mentioned. And it's like, oh, wow, the Steelers have a chance here. By the way, Antoine Randall made some nice plays in this game. All over the place. Ultimately, he got that crazy looking reverse, which ultimately wound up a 2-point conversion to make it 28-25 rather than 28-24 or 28-23, that is. It could have been either one of those. But no, it made it a field goal game on a very solid play. But the Packers did what they had to here. They ate up the clock. They didn't eat up enough of the clock. No, they didn't. But they ate up a lot of the clock. They ate up about 5 minutes. Got really close to actually scoring a game-winning touchdown all the way up to the goal line. But the Steelers' defense gave that team one last bit of hope because if the Packers were able to score a touchdown there, we all knew it's completely over. It'd be a 10-point game or 9-point game or whatever, and the Steelers were dead without a couple of onside kicks or something recovered. Steelers all but completely dead at that point otherwise. Boy, Antoine Randall was pretty good, though. It was nice to see him back on the Steelers again. Man, just a crazy game. Crazy game. I mean, a very strong finish. But that Packers drive, it's like, there you go. You got to run the clock as best you can. But, oh, wait, the Packers don't have the running game the Steelers do. So it's kind of harder to run down the clock. But they ran down a decent amount, got a 23-yard field goal, a chip shot by Mason Crosby to make it 31-25. The Steelers' last gasp was just not enough. They used up a lot of time getting a couple first downs. 3rd and 5, 4th and 5. A lot of people believe that Mike Wallace was interfered with on the play, but it didn't really look like it. It looked like it was just an inaccurate pass. They believe that the Packer defender, the cornerback, tangled their legs with Mike Wallace But ultimately, the flag was not thrown on a 4th and 5 play. And that was it. That was it. All the Packers had to do was knee down, and that was it. Kneel down out the final 49 seconds or whatever it was. And there's your Packers championship. And, wow. I mean, you just sit here in utter shock. You can't believe what happened. You just can't believe, again, that the Packers ended up not even only making it to the Super Bowl, but winning it. They won it. Oh, my God, they won it. Yes, they did. And we just sit here, hungrier than ever, more jealous than ever, and wondering, when will it be our turn? Purple Mafia faithful, when will it be our turn? I'm asking it too. I'm with you. I'm with all of you. But it was a fun game. It was entertaining. And ultimately, well, I guess the better team won. I guess. I mean, they were kind of like the New Orleans Saints, really. A very, very good quarterback and a defense that forced turnovers and got it done. They just got it done. They beat the team with the better history. The Vikings have a better history than the Saints. The Packers have a great history, but the Steelers have an even better history. At least since the Super Bowl started, the Super Bowl format started. The Packers ultimately have the best history of any team in football since all time, since the NFL started back in the day, the 20s. But well, there you go. There you go. Well, what more can you say? What more can you say? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a top 4 quarterback in this league, and there's no doubt about it. He's already got as many Super Bowls as Brett Favre. He's got one more MVP than Brett Favre did in the Super Bowl. He's got one. Yeah. I mean, what more can you say? It's mind-boggling. It's completely mind-boggling to see this kind of thing take place. Tough. Very tough to swallow for Viking fans. But at the same time, a very entertaining team in Green Bay. A talented team. A cocky team, but a talented team. And it's like you wish we were an AFC town. Then you might not have to hate the Packers as much as we do. But we do. And that's about all there is to it. Sorry for saying "and" so much. I guess a lot of people on shows say it sometimes. But it was a great football game, and I guess that's all there is to it. Congratulations, Packer fans. I know there are some of you out there. I know there are. Schmitty, if you're still listening, I hope you are. Haven't heard from you in a long time. Used to hear from him on Facebook a lot. But I'm sure some Packer fans are listening to Purple Mafia and have been listening because I've been respectful to that team. Especially when Brett Favre was there. I have been respectful to that team during the Purple Mafia era and the Paladino Live era on YouTube. Because, yes, they're an arch rival, but at the same time, this is football. This isn't war. This isn't war. Nobody's dying. Nobody's dying out there. Nobody's getting shot at. There's no bombs. None of that is happening. It's football. It's fun. We hate the over trash talk by the Packer fans. I mean, the Packer fans do talk more trash than Viking fans, and everybody knows it. But unfortunately, when you have 4 Super Bowls and we have none, it's just one of those things. They have that advantage, and it's going to take a long time to eclipse that. It's going to take a Minnesota Vikings dynasty and a great, great dynasty to eclipse that. And that is what we're going to discuss in episode number 86, is how we're going to attempt to even approach building a dynasty or a one-year wonder. No, not a one-year wonder, but at least one freaking Super Bowl championship. As again, that is the only thing left. The Vikings getting to the Super Bowl wouldn't be enough. They need to win it. They need to win it. That's just all there is to it there. But that was a worthy football game last night, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen. It was a worthy football game. I'm glad I was able to watch it. I was. It was a very nice. It was very nice football. It was, and the team that outplayed the other, in the end, won it. It's just all there is to it, regardless if you like them or not. And a lot of us hoping and praying that they aren't the next dynasty, but the possibility does exist and persists. So again, episode number 86 will be about the state of the Vikings address. We are going to hope this team can get things going right away. Adrian Peterson will be going into his 5th season. Jared Allen is, almost 30 now. He's about 29. Kevin Williams is about the same age. You got to go out and win now. But at the same time, you need pieces to develop as well on the fly. Within the next 2 to 3 years, we hope the Vikings can be back in the NFC Championship game and this time win it, and ultimately do what the Packers did last night. Simply outplay your opponent in a big game. That's what you got to do. Outplay them and win the damn thing. Period. So with that, we are going to get to the contact details. Purple Mafia, again, mentioned on the sportstuff.com and on iTunes. We would like you to please join the message boards on the sportstuff.com. Simply go to the front page, click on the button that says TSS Boards on the upper right-hand corner, then click on Register, and create a screen name. Make it something that makes sense and isn't a bunch of jumbled words, because that was, of course, most likely spam. Most people would assume that it's spam. Make it Adrian, make it whatever you want. Make it Joey from Golden Valley. Okay, that would be me, but ultimately I'm Palladino Joey. Maybe have a kind of a nickname like that. Or Anthony from L.A., or Brent from Lakeville, or whatever, Apple Valley, whatever. Something cool, something that identifies you as, well, you. That's about all there is to it. Then you could talk about the NFL on there. The boards are split up in divisions, as I mentioned before, but maybe there's new listeners, of course, so I'm going to mention it every time. Split up in divisions. So the NFC North, you could talk about all the teams on there. You could trash talk about our Vikings over the Packers next year. Well, I hope so. But, it's available to you. If you're going to do it or not, it's available to you. We'd love to have you on board. Please do join the message boards on the sportstuff.com. Also, as mentioned, we do have a voicemail, 209-736-7877, 209-736-7877. You could have your voice as mine here on Purple Mafia. I'd appreciate it very much. State your name and town. Mention you're calling in for Purple Mafia first, of course, and then opine, shout out, question, whatever would be great. Maybe a Packer fan talking trash. Hey, you're welcome on the show. This is America. You let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard. Not everybody has to like what you have to say, and you don't have to like what I have to say either. So, welcome on board. Yeah, I wasn't really saying the Packers were going to win the Super Bowl at all. In fact, I thought they were going to get beat by the Eagles. So, again, you don't have to like what I have to say either. You don't. It was my opinion. I was wrong. Sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry to you, and I'm sorry to all Viking fans that things took place the way they did the last year and a half. It sucks. It sucks we're still waiting, and not only still waiting, but have a very uncertain future right now, despite the fact our coach is well liked. We don't know how good he is yet, though signs would indicate he has a chance to be pretty good. So there you go. I'm kind of rambling again. Remember the Facebook group, facebook.com/Purple Mafia Show. Do give that a like. We would like that, and post on there. Of course, when you click like, it's like joining it. So please help me out. Do that. Also, Twitter.com/Purple Mafia Show. Do give that a follow. Twitter.com/Purple Mafia Show. And those out there that love this show and would like to help it, and no, this is not asking for money. It's asking maybe write a review on iTunes if you have time. Write a review on iTunes. Tell us what you like about the show, maybe what you don't like about the show. Give me a nice rating. The Purple Mafia is part of iTunes. Yep, look up Purple Mafia on iTunes and write a review about the show. That's not asking for money, is it? It's just if you have the time and you love the show and you want to give me a nice review, I'd appreciate it. So please consider that if you could. With that, we are going to call it a day. We are going to call it a week. And we'll be back to talk about the state of the Vikings address within a week or two. Hopefully just a week, but maybe a second week, depending on what happens. Shucks. We don't even know what stadium we're going to play in yet. Oh, goody. State of the Vikings address will be in episode number 86. Until then, all of you, take care.